3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Tower Casuals, the Destiny podcast here on Boss Rush Games. I'm one of your hosts, Corey Derrigan. Alongside me, as always, is the Deep Stone Crypt master himself, Mr. Josh Finney.
I like that. I like that name.
I know. I come up with great names. I don't know if you're aware of this.
I'm more than aware. Yeah, guys, I've cleared it 6 times since it launched. Had a lot of fun teaching it. Corey, this could be controversial, and I'll get to it later, but this may be in my top 3 Destiny right now.
That's what I've heard. I've heard many people say that.
Yeah, we're going to talk more about Deep Stone Crypt later, and especially next episode.
Yeah.
But
yeah, because I still need to clear it. I'm going to try to do it this weekend. We
try to not spoil anything for Corey that hasn't already been spoiled.
I mean, the only thing I know is that there's a pike race at the beginning, and that the sword breaks the second encounter, is all I know. All right, Josh, let's get into the TWAB. The TWAB. We're going to jump right into the TWAB because we got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, it's actually pretty light Schwab for our second to last one of the year. They give us some numbers on the Deep Stone Crypt from day 1, 29,814 unique completions, and a lot more stats for the launch plus 10 days. So up through the time you could earn the raid jacket, 258,000 unique clears, over 7 million player hours, 1 billion kills, 85 million deaths. All of those are significantly higher numbers than the Garden of Salvation and Last Wish especially. It's kind of cool to see. I really, really like seeing this because it means that it was a lot more accessible for some people. I think that having a full 10, 11 days to grind out was better than just having 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
It didn't make bounty stacking essential. That's really cool to see. Bungie charity initiative with Game to Give. For every 250k that they get, they are revealing stuff for the Dawning. They have already revealed the Warlock and Titan sets, and we are waiting to see if we get the Hunter one tomorrow. And if they hit 1 million, they will reveal the Dawning 2020 legendary weapon. So that's cool. This is a really hot set if you haven't seen it yet, Corey. It's embedded in the TWAB. I really like the Titan set. If the Hunter is anything like that, I'm absolutely buying this with money.
Yeah, it looks really cool. I saw the Warlock set, and then I saw the Titan set. So it's
I like them both. It's awesome. I don't normally like flashy sets like that, but I'll absolutely get it for my Hunter. It'll be the first Dawning set I've ever actually tried to earn. Iron Banner comes back on Tuesday with 2 new weapons. It looks at a hand cannon and I believe a scout rifle.
Yeah.
So pretty psyched about those. Of course, they are reprised weapons from year 1, I believe. I don't hate this as much as a lot of people do, especially with new Iron Banner specific perks that we got introduced last season on Forward Path and Fool's Remedy. I'm okay with this. I think this simply adds to the loot pool. These are weapons you can only get after you do the quest line. There will be an Iron Banner quest from Lord Saladin. Yep, those are it. And the Iron Will armor is back. Again, I don't hate this. I'm okay with this. It looks a little bit bland as far as Iron Banner armor goes, but hey, it's something new to earn. We're about to have universal ornaments anyways.
Yeah, I like the. I kind of like this Iron Banner armor. The middle, I'm assuming, is the Warlock in this picture, right? And then the right is the Titan. It's fine. It's fine.
It's fine. I mean, it's nothing groundbreaking. The way I see it is, especially with universal ornaments, it's become less important to me what the standard armor ends up looking like, because if I don't like it, I'm just going to slap an ornament on it anyways.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing.
Stuff I like.
That's what I've been doing. And then when transmog comes, it's just not going to matter at all.
Right. Next, we have the next gen update dropping on Tuesday, on December 8th. This will require a full re-download for all Series X, Series S, and PS5 users.
Wonderful.
Yeah, a brand new 70 gig download for us.
Hope you don't got them data caps.
Man, yeah, I'm not thrilled about this, but with how much is actually changing in the game, this doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, no, it doesn't either.
Yeah. So also update 3.0.1 will be dropping on the same day, including re-enabling the Prophecy Dungeon. Powerful rewards can be earned from each checkpoint once per week, and as you complete the dungeon, you will also obtain a pinnacle level reward, which is awesome. Pinnacles are the only things that can push you past the 1250 hard cap. And previously featured weapon and armor rewards are available once more, so everybody get in there and get your Ikelos Shoddy, get your Death Adders.
I need that shotgun.
Yeah, dude, it's especially Warmind sells back on the menu, man. It's awesome.
Yeah.
The Destiny Companion app, starting next week, it will get an update. Bounties can be acquired from Destiny 2 vendors using the Companion app. They can only be acquired when you are offline in orbit or in the tower, so you cannot earn them when you're just strolling around on a planet. You can't just sit there and get repeatables given to you all the time, or in the middle of Crucible match, get some more.
I mean, I don't care.
This is a godsend.
I mean, just sitting in orbit is fine, right? Like, oh my gosh, I can't tell you how many times
I need them is when I'm grinding out the Crucible on it.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've been waiting in orbit for like Mitch to get on to go run our weekly strikes or our nightfall or whatever, and then like I forget to pick up the bounties. I'm like, gosh, we got to go to the tower. It's awful.
Yeah, it really throws me out of the groove when we got to go back every other match or every match because we got new people joining up or people leaving and new people jumping in. It's like, no, like now everybody has no excuse to not have this on their phones. Some new light issues. Not really sure if that affects any of us, but okay. The Lost Lights Monument will no longer highlight for you automatically. Thank God.
I know.
Continues to flash for players who own all exotics, so I imagine it'll still glow for me since I am missing the exotic Sparrow from Scourge the Past. Badges and armor and collections will correctly select your class, and it will keep from the UI forgetting what page you were on. Updated the Mercy rule for control and class to prevent it from triggering too early. And there's some stuff with the exotics. I encourage you guys to go read about the Beyond Light exotics. I'm not going to go into all that right now. And there will be more patch notes ready on December 8th.
Right.
Looking to see if there's anything else in here, because I think the rest of it is just stuff like that.
I see one that affects me personally. Remember a couple weeks ago, or maybe it was a couple weeks ago. I said playing it with HDR on was really like screwing with my TV, and it was only Destiny.
Yes.
There's a patch note in here. It says HDR isn't working as intended.
Yes, I'm seeing that. I'm seeing the giant list of things they are still investigating.
Yeah, it's like anytime I'm on Nessus, it just looks like when you put your phone in inverted color mode is like that's exactly what it looks like, and it's annoying. Like I have to turn HDR off every single time on my TV.
Yeah, it's not great. It's pretty bad.
Yeah.
But that's it for the TWAB. There's really not a whole lot else. Next week will be, of course, Iron Banner is launching, and the Dawning is launching on the 15th. So I imagine next week will be a big Dawning and Holiday Break preview. There are rumors that the Hawkmoon Quest is going to go live on the 15th.
Yep.
So we'll
I've
see.
Seen that too. I'm excited to play some Iron Banner. I know people kind of have their issues with Iron Banner, but I enjoy it.
I don't have a problem with Iron Banner. I'm curious to see how it is with stasis powers. Let everybody get it out of their systems.
Yeah, there was that big thing. Did you see that big thing on Reddit going around that they're like disabled stasis powers for Iron Banner this week?
I saw it. I'm sorry. Like Trials of Osiris is something where that needed to be fixed because that's a pinnacle mode. Iron Banner is not a pinnacle mode. It is a way for you to get pinnacles if you are unable to do raids or 100k nightfalls or something like that. There is no reason to delay Iron Banner because some supers are a little bit more powerful. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
They've already nerfed the stasis supers pretty well, especially the Warlock one. The glitch with the Titan one, I doubt many players I can actually do that to begin with. It is the top tier players who have figured out how to do that and who can replicate the glitch. And honestly, at that point, just, don't be an asshole. Don't go in there. They're re-enabling trials that week, so I imagine this is getting fixed in a patch before that.
Yeah.
So, because they do say in the TWAB, they have identified or not in the TWAB, on Twitter, Bungie Help did say today that they have identified the issue in Trials of Osiris, and they're going to re-enable Trials on the 18th.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be back that week. Go to Trials. Just go to Trials.
Right. So, but yeah, that was not like those meaty twabs a couple weeks ago, or like a month ago.
No, this is our second to last one for the season.
Yeah.
So, or for the year, really.
Nerd journalists in the chat. Disable D's nuts, he says.
Sir, this is a Christian Destiny 2 chat.
I love nerd journalists so much.
I do too.
Oh man. So yeah, so now that we're done with the TWAB, you want to talk about some stuff we've been doing in the game? I mean, I know you've cleared
I'd
1,000
like to
runs
talk about
Crypt already.
Yeah, well, the 1,000 runs of Deep Stone Crypt that have yielded nothing except for boots.
That's the title of
shotguns.
Josh's autobiography. 1,000 clears of Deep Stone Crypt. The story of my life.
With no chest piece.
Yeah.
I really like. We'll touch on the raid loot situation when we actually cover Deep Stone here in a few minutes. But I want to take a second to focus on, because we talked about legendary drops a couple weeks ago when we last were on here together.
Mm-hmm.
Since then, we've each done both of the actual exotic quests in the game for Salvation's Grip and for Lament.
Mm-hmm.
I believe you've completed Salvation's Grip.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those were the first quests that I did after the campaign. So
we've had the opportunity now to go after the exotic helmets and the exotic arms through the Master Lost sectors and go after Cloud Strike through the Empire Hunts. I'm going to present an idea to you, Corey, and I want to know what you think about it. I think this is how all exotics should be distributed going forward for a content release.
yeah, I really like the kind of like the straightforward quests. This reminds me of, you know what, getting Lament and Salvation's Grip reminded me of was the Gallahorn quest in Rise of Iron.
Yes,
is what they reminded me of, and it just brought back so many like good feelings of like, oh man, I can.
There's an actual story built around the weapons.
Yeah,
like Lament is, spoiler alert, if you haven't gotten Lament, I'm assuming if you listen to this, you're one of the nearly 1 million people who have cleared it. Lament is the ancient weapon of Clovis Bray that he used to fight off the Vex with. Well, we find out through the course of that quest, so we'll do a deeper dive into this later on in December. I want to take some time to compile this, see if they give us any new information over the coming weeks. Clovis Bray uploaded himself into not only the AI construct that we meet in the depths of the Bray exoscience in Beyond Light, he is also Banshee-44 in the tower. But Banshee obviously has no memories. He doesn't remember himself as Clovis. When we present Lament to him, though, he remembers. He remembers wielding it, and he tells us to keep it. Basically, do what he would do with it. And Salvation's Grip, similarly, that is a weapon that is constructed by the Drifter that he enhances, really. He finds out that the Fallen have figured out how to weaponize stasis, and he sends us on a quest to go get it. It's the only stasis gun in the game, which makes it really cool, and it makes you realize, like, oh, okay, there's not going to be, like, stasis supers, like this is our stasis snipers. I expect us to get a sword of it one of these seasons.
Oh, yeah.
But maybe when Fallen Guillotine is out of the picture or something, they make Falling Guillotine, or not Falling Guillotine, but they make a stasis version of that as an exotic or something. Like, and it's the most rewarding quest. Both of these are insanely rewarding from a story perspective, I feel, and they're both unique in their design. Sure, there's some pain in the butt objectives to do it, but like, we go into the Fallen City for Salvation's Grip. We go and defend Clovis himself to get Lament. You know, we have this whole story between him and Banshee, and we find out that Elsie takes Banshee to go talk to Clovis in between things and after the quest and everything. It's just, there's this whole crazy storyline. Similarly, though, they've tied the two class exotics for each class, for Hunter, Titan, and Warlock, and Cloud Strike, to in-game activities. They're rewarding the players who are going to grind to go do those pinnacle activities instead of just throwing it into a Zur Ingram. which is a great idea. I don't think that exotics should just be handed to you. Sure, we had a lesser amount this year, but it's been so much more rewarding to earn these
Yeah.
and to grind out those. I've done 25 Empire hunts in the last week and a half, and I still have not gotten Cloud Strike.
Well,
But I'm not getting super frustrated by it because it takes me about 10 minutes to run through one with champions, about 7 without. I don't hate these missions entirely because I'm usually doing Varix quests that are associated with them. I'm doing dailies. I'm doing weeklies. I'm always working on something else, or I'm doing it with friends. I'm listening to a podcast, whatever. These and the Master Lost Sector are 2 types of grinds I don't mind doing. This is stuff we've been asking for a while, is endgame grind that is not solely, oh, you have to flawless a dungeon. Oh, you have to do the raid every week. There are now so many things for solo players to go do in this game.
Mm. Yeah.
And there's rewards. There's cosmetics given for finishing each of these things, by the way. You do a Master Lost Sector, sure, that counts towards your what do you call it? Your title completion. But there's shaders tied to the Empire hunts. There's emblems tied to them. If you finish enough stuff on Europa, I just unlocked it last night, you get the exotic ship that looks like it's North Face brand. It's wearing a puffy jacket. Like, I like that kind of goofy stuff. I like that there's so many secrets in this DLC, and there's things that reward the hardcore players. I have no doubt that the helmets, the arms, and Cloud Strike will eventually get put into Zur Ingrams, probably sometime late in the spring, early in the summer. By then, you've had about 6 or 7 months. If you really wanted it, you would have gone after it, or you're just lazy. So then you'll get it. Or maybe you didn't have the means to. Maybe, like, you're one of those players who just, no matter how high you get, you are not comfortable soloing something like that. Because those are, with the exception of Cloud Strike, the armor pieces are solo rewards. Mm-hmm. I understand not having the confidence to go do that.
What are those Master Lost Sectors? What's the light level for those?
1250, maybe 1280. 1250 to 1280, somewhere in there. There's 2 types of champions in there. There's some burns associated with them, but I mean, hey, if you're not confident doing them, wait until Bunker E15 on Europa is up. That's the one where you get the frames that help you. Free all the frames, sit back, hang out in a well or in a rift or go invisible or whatever. Let them torch everything. You just do cleanup. Mm-hmm. I'm dead serious. Like that, it's a great strat. I'm personally waiting for that because I don't care that much. I got the arms when they were glitched. But I really want that Mask of Bacchus, so I'm probably going to end up diving into those this next week. That's about all I've got left as far as Beyond Light content goes right now that I really need to work at, and I'm not just casually grinding with friends for fun.
Right.
Which is something, like, if you can't have a discussion about the loot in Beyond Light without talking about the Deep Stone Crypt and what I think its greatest success is. And it's not just that I love the encounters, but it's so rewarding to run that on one character every week, multiple times a week, though, that you are no longer being punished if you choose to only play on one class. I only like playing my hunter in endgame activities. I'll throw on a warlock or a titan for some crucible, for a couple strikes here and there. Maybe I might throw it on for some gambit. I don't want to play through the entire story multiple times, though, and unfortunately, I know if I want to play those classes, I'm going to want to use stasis powers as much as possible, right? Mm-hmm. And I know that's not feasible in a raid, especially when we're all still learning it and still grinding it out. I'm now no longer being punished for running a hunter. It used to be I didn't want to run a raid more than once in a week because can we wait till next week? Can we wait till next reset, guys? Like, I'm not going to get any weapons out of this. I can still get spoils, though. I can get enough if it's a repeat run for me. I can get enough spoils out of one run to buy a weapon or a piece of armor at the end out of the final chest. Because how the final chest is set up, Corey, is each piece of armor that you've earned in each weapon is there for purchase with spoils of conquest. But in addition to that, there are 4 chests that you can choose from also, if you so choose, that are more. There's 60 spoils apiece. That you get a piece of armor and a weapon, and it tells you which encounter it's from, so you know exactly what you're going to get. There's one of 3 pieces of armor and one of 2 weapons, usually. that is the greatest success of this raid. Is not only can you do all that, it's if you had enough spoils and you already got your pinnacles, you can buy another chest. You can go buy more weapons. You can get that roll that you're chasing without having to just rely on having to do multiple characters every week.
Or like even if you're rolling one character, like you don't have to wait for the reset like the old raids.
Well, and that also, the first 4 times you open those secret chests, which one of them is smack dab, you cannot miss it when you're doing the jumping puzzle in the raid. You get smacked with it each time you open up those chests. Though for the first 4 times, as long as it's your first open of that chest of the week on that particular character, you will get the mods. There's only 4 mods for the whole raid, and you can earn them all your first 4 secret chest openings when you run the raid.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I absolutely loved that because I had them. I had some of them by the end of the first weekend. I had all of them. I loaded in on another character, ran through the jumping puzzle, got it with my warlock, and then got the other ones with my hunter a few times. I had them all by last Tuesday's reset, and let me tell you, similar to Garden of Salvation, they really changed the game. They're not as essential, but they really, really help if you're carrying one of the buffs. Yet there's passive ones. And it's all only active in Deep Stone Crypt. There's passive abilities that are on there too that even if you're not running that particular augment, you still get them. Like, for example, the scanner one drops heavy ammo even if you don't have the scanner augment on you. I cannot tell you how much that helps when you're running Xenophage at the boss.
Yeah.
I cannot tell you how much that helps. Things like that, these are the kind of mods we wanted to see. And they all stack with each other. So if there's something particular you want to run, and say you want to run 3 copies of the scanner augment because you want that extra headshot damage, which is what you get when you carry that, or you want that extra heavy ammo, slap 3 of those bad boys on, 3 pieces of arc raid armor, and you're ready to go.
Nice.
I think it's fantastic the way that they've done the raid loot, and it's rewarding in a way that I feel they're finally starting to nail. We've seen this with the seasonal content for a little while. With Season of Arrivals, we saw it. We're seeing it again with the lures. You want to talk about a little bit about the Wrathborn Hunts.
Yeah.
So why don't you hit me with that?
I mean, maybe I just haven't done enough of them to see the real rewards from them or whatnot, but like I don't know. I don't really care for them a whole lot. And maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm just like, I'm not doing enough of them to see the real rewards from it yet. But I don't know. It just feels like I've been doing all this stuff on Europa and all this side stuff. And then I'm like, oh yeah, there's like this whole other section of the expansion that I haven't even touched, which are like the hunts. Yeah. And like, I go there and then I have my lore filled and like, I'm looking at the mods and stuff for them, and I'm just like, oh man, I should probably do these. And then I'm like, but all this other stuff that I'm doing is way more exciting than these hunts.
Yeah. So I'll agree with you there. I definitely, this feels like, okay, this is seasonal stuff that is tacked onto the release of an actual expansion. Similar to how Vex Offensive was. I think the lure system, it's convoluted and it's kind of annoying at first.
Yeah.
I really like it. The more that I started playing around with it and experiment, I wish there was a bigger pool of weapons. I'll say that to start off with. I think only having 5 weapons total, and that's including the 2 season pass ones. Yeah. As of right now, there's only 5 weapons, is borderline inexcusable.
Which is what the scout rifle is. The scout rifle's in the season pass, right?
The scout rifle and the heavy grenade launcher are both in the season pass. So the only things you can get if you don't have the season pass for the seasonal in fact, I don't even know if you can access it without the season pass, frankly. I have no idea. I've never been in that position. Is the submachine gun, the breech-loaded grenade launcher, and God, there's one other thing that I'm just completely blanking on.
Is it Deafening Whisper, which is what Nerd Journalist said in the chat?
That's the breech loader.
Okay.
So I don't remember what the third one is, but clearly I haven't earned it, or I just dismantled it as soon as I got it. It's like any other of these chalices or lures or whatever. You got to wait for people to play around kind of with the rolls and see what they like. I do like that you can kind of pigeonhole what perks you're going to get on something first, by the way.
Yeah.
I do really like that system. I think that's a lot like in a way, it's like the like Drifter's Fun Box meets the Chalice.
Yeah.
And kind of exclude the things you don't want and like try to get higher stats. For example, if you're trying to get the armor, you can get a higher stat roll, or you can like one of the things you really want in that breach loader, you really want an ambitious assassin. And like you can choose the perks that'll basically guarantee you're going to get that or something else. And I think that's really great, especially for seasonal content. I don't know if it's as essential now, knowing that this is going to be around for an entire year. And maybe that's part of their thing is like, oh, okay, well, if we're going to leave the seasonal content in here for a year, maybe, and I mean, maybe I'm completely off my base. Maybe it's going to be like Season of Arrivals, where we get a couple more legendary weapons added partway through the season. Where we got Ikelos SMG first in, last out, the Ikelos Sniper, and we got something else added last year once we did the first Exodus quest. It's very possible that happens. I'm not banking on it. I think when you consider the raid loot, you consider Season of the Hunt, you consider the Europa weapons, you consider the exotic quests, Cloud Strike, Hawkmoon is coming, most likely in the Dawning legendary that you're going to get. And, God, there was something else I was going to say, and I can't remember what. Oh, Prophecy is coming back. I think you've got that. You've got the Adored quest. I think there's enough loot here. Of course, the hardcore players are going to be like, oh, there's not enough. I'm sorry that not all of us can play 10 to 12 hours a day the first 3 weeks that it's out.
Let me ask you something, though, real quick.
Yeah.
Like, I know a couple weeks ago we said the loot pool was kind of like, it was scarce aside from these quests that we're talking about now. And then, like, you know, the Vanguard and the Crucible and the Drifter armor sets are all literally the same thing. But, like, would you rather have, like, a bunch of weapons that you're not going to remember? Or would you rather have, like, this where there's, like, okay, well, we can name almost every weapon that we can get, and they're meaningful in some sort of impactful way somehow, like Adored, or, you know, like some of these other weapons, we can name them, we know what they do, we can kind of tweak them to what we want them to be.
I would personally rather have this with a few more options, just like maybe 4 or 5 more obtainable things for this. And I think for me that focus goes on to the seasonal stuff. I'd like to see a couple more weapons in the seasonal pool, and maybe like 2-3 more weapons spread throughout Crucible, Gambit, and Vanguard. Right now there's only 1 drop for each. There's the Shoddy, there's the Heavy Grenade Launcher, and there's the Pulse for Vanguard, Gambit, and Crucible, respectively. I'd like to see another drop or 2 added to each of those pools, and like maybe 2-3 more seasonal weapons, and I think you've got an outstanding selection from it. I stand by, until they do something like that, I stand by that I think that this is a little bit light in terms of the actual loot that we are earning. But it feels now that I'm actually genuinely looking at these more and more. I'm getting to pick the roles that I want more and more. I'm getting to pick my raid loot at the end. If they would just stop dropping me shotguns out of the actual chest so I could earn real guns, that'd be I've seriously gotten 6 shotguns in like 4 or 5 runs of this thing. I'm so tired of getting that. I've gotten the sword a couple times.
Sounds like my Pinnacle
Steve is going to murder me because he wants a shoddy.
It sounds like my Pinnacle gear last week. I did 7 or 8 Pinnacle things last week to try to. By the way, I jumped like 20 light levels in the last week and a half, and it made me so happy. But every single Pinnacle drop I got last week, every single one was a Titan Towel. Okay? Every single one.
Like, listen, Bungie, I just want to talk. I want to know who keeps giving me shotguns and raid arms and raid legs. I want to talk about who's giving me those. I just need the chest piece for the full set. It's all I want. I want the chest piece, and I need that hot scout rifle. You can keep Eyes of Tomorrow. I just need the shoddy. Or not the shot. God, no, not the shoddy. I need the scout rifle. I want Trusty. I want it with recombination. I love, and that's another thing. Like, while we're talking about loot, there are raid-specific perks. It is incentivizing us to keep playing and playing and playing this raid, even if it's just to go buy rolls of a specific gun, because of the raid-specific perks to it. And I love that. That's something we didn't know about this before. And I remember us getting it. We're like, whoa, what is this? Like on our first guns, like there's one that's basically a super auto loading holster that while you have it stowed, it'll store up to 2 times the amount, or it'll store 2 times the amount of the normal magazine in the magazine. So say you have a 4-shot sniper, you can get 8 shots out of it. I think the one here is actually 5. So you can get 10 shots stored on that sniper while it's stowed.
That's amazing.
That's a game changer.
That's amazing.
Like, these are things that people were asking for, like trials weapons. Like, oh, give us trial specific perks, which there are a couple of those. I have one on my summoner. They're like, if I'm the last one alive, all my abilities and my damage are boosted. Cool. This is awesome, though. I love this for pinnacle activities. I'd like to see it for this. I'd like to maybe see a gun have a chance to have a roll at that out of the final chest in the next dungeon, perhaps. Like, these are cool things that incentivize people to keep playing your game, and it's what we've wanted for so long. The loot situation with this one raid and with the Return of Prophecy is completely, and as well as re-adding all of the seasonal weapons from last year into the loot pool, is genuinely changing the way that we're playing this. All the Season of Arrival weapons are in there. All the 7th Seraph weapons are in there now. That's what we wanted, Bungie. Those never should have been taken out. Never, ever do this again. Ever.
Yeah.
This is how it needs to be done.
I'm really, like, I think I put this on Twitter last week, but I haven't had this much fun in Destiny in a long time. Like, I loved Forsaken, the campaign and stuff, but after that I was kind of sitting in a position where I was still playing Destiny by myself, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to do a lot of this by myself. But, like, I don't know if it's this podcast or just the group of people that we talk to and play with or what, but it's just like, even grinding and doing character builds and masterworking gear. Like, I masterworked 3 pieces of gear in the past 2 weeks, and it's the first time I masterworked gear since, like, it was introduced, I think, like, since then. And it's so
there is a much bigger incentive to masterwork your stuff now, even if it's just something as simple as masterworking your ghost and getting those ghost mods that are random drops. Like, there are incentives to do this. There are incentives to keep an entire set of raid armor around now. Like, I mean, there already was with Garden of Salvation. It became almost essential to have enhanced relay defender.
Yeah.
I don't like raids that require stuff like that. Instead, here, they are additional perks that will make your life significantly easier if you have them. I like running them a lot. I know that a lot of our friend group likes running them a lot. It's just, it becomes a balance of, well, how much do I want to boost my stats and how much do I want these extra things added to me? And that's awesome. Like, if you're the main guy who runs scanner like me, I want to be running the scanner augment. The night when I ran operator, I made sure I had the operator augment on 2 pieces of armor. Like, it's that simple. And this is the kind of stuff, when we tell you we want meaningful loot, Bungie, you're starting to deliver on that. You're starting to give us what we want.
Some of these
need you to go a little bit further, a little bit more.
Some of these perks remind me of, like, Taken King and Rise of Iron raids, where, like, if you wore the armor, those perks and mods benefited you while running. But this seems a little bit more customizable.
Yeah. I mean, so the mods you get in the raid are only usable in that specific raid. It's not even for all raids. It's just for that one.
Right.
Which I like because, again, like, it incentivizes me to do them. But it's like the drop rate is basically guaranteed on them as opposed to Garden, where you had a chance for one in Garden.
Mm-hmm.
You're guaranteed them in these. Like, either that or I have uncannily good luck to get all 4 of them in my first openings. But it's awesome. I like it. And they don't go out of their way hiding the 2 hidden chests this time either.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is literally above the last point in the pike race, and the other one you literally cannot complete. In my opinion, the best jumping puzzle in the entire franchise. You can't complete it without running across that chest. It's actually impossible.
Better than the Taken King jumping puzzle at the beginning.
It's better than the Wall of Dicks, Corey. It has also, in my opinion, probably either the second best or the absolute best music in the entire series is in that puzzle.
It's awesome.
I really wish I was joking, but that is an area where they continue to improve in year after year after year. Michael Salvatore continues to do an incredible job with this soundtrack.
This music in particular, it feels so different than anything they've done before across the board. And then like people are saying, well, the raid music is different from anything that's on Europa, or and I'm like,
it is.
Oh my gosh, this is I love the music.
If you listen closely to the music in the raid, you hear Destiny 1 music accompanying it. And it makes so much sense when you're doing the raid why that's happening. We're being deliberately ambiguous here because Corey hasn't done it yet, but it makes a lot of sense when you consider that. You consider the Deep Stone Crypt's place in Destiny lore and in its history. It's an incredible encounter. Like there's, like I said, I guess let's shift to that now.
Okay.
Like let's shift to Deep Stone Crypt real fast before we do a lore corner. I'm not joking when I say this is already in my top 3 raids. It may go as high as number 2. I don't think it's not going to unseat the Taken King. I know that. But I think there is a legit argument for it to be in the conversation alongside King's Fall. I think it should be in the conversation alongside, going back to my personal rankings that we did.
Right.
My top 4 were King's Fall, Last Wish, Garden of Salvation, and Vault, in that order. Garden and Vault might have been swapped. It is absolutely a top 5 raid, in my opinion. I would put it above both Vault and Garden. Would absolutely put it above it. This is the most new player friendly raid in the franchise now, with the absence of Scourge of the Past or Eater of Worlds. It is the most newcomer friendly raid. It forces everybody to learn a mechanic, but it does not shield you off from helping other people in most instances.
Yeah.
You will have at least 1, if not 2 other people with you. It gradually applies it. Like you're never in a zone where it's like, oh my god, I'm by myself, unless you are doing one specific role in the very first encounter. You're never like, oh my god, I'm completely alone. I have nobody to help me, nobody to back me up. It is structured in a way that Crown of Sorrow and Garden of Salvation failed to be, and they were lesser raids because of it. I love the ambiance, the music, the design of Garden, but the tether mechanic sucks. The walling off of teams sucks. Same with Crown. It's awful. I hate that about those encounters. You can't go help somebody if they're struggling. Here, everybody has an augment, and you are forced to take it at some point. You can't just say, oh, this person doesn't know what they're doing. Like, no, you are going to fail until that person learns their job, and there are jobs that are much easier than others. You don't give a new person suppressor in the final battle or in the third encounter. You give them something like Operator or even Scanner. You make them a runner, something. You don't put them on something like Suppressor. It's that simple. It's not that hard to understand. And I love that about this raid. Yes, it was hard in contest mode. I am joining the chorus of people like Bife and a few others who have been saying, Bungie, please put contest mode on there as an applicable modifier for us so we can tackle it at our own pace. Some of us would really like the challenge of being able to beat it, but with our newer weapons. Just power cap us to 1230, no artifact, nothing, and let us see how we do. It's crazy to me that one weapon changes the entire tide of that. The second encounter to me is still the most difficult. It is the most difficult. There's others where you gotta you gotta be on it with your callouts, but this one, I mean, with Lament, it goes from being the hardest in the raid to almost being the easiest. And I don't know if they intended for that or not, but truly, if you beat that in contest mode, you are a top tier player. There's no doubt in my mind. We were on phase 3, almost done with it when we ran out of time. And it's brutal.
Yeah. It's
absolutely brutal. But that is the sign to me of a good raid encounter. It was brutal, but not one of us ever lost our optimism, even though we failed there. Our group failed for about 8.5 hours at that specific encounter. And I don't think we ever I think we got a little frustrated, but we never got mad.
Yeah.
Like, we saw top tier teams not completing that we were getting almost as far as them, if not farther. Like, we were close to triggering Final Stand. And that, like, to me, that's a a badge of honor in its own right.
Yeah.
Like, I'm proud of the job that we did, and that none of us ever got heated, not at each other, not at the encounter. It's just like, we knew this going in on day one was going to be rough. It was going to be real rough. But I'm also glad that as soon as that dropped, we went in there and just bam, we wiped it. We wiped the rest of the raid out.
That's awesome.
So it's a really, really fun raid, Corey. I can't wait to talk about the overall raid with you, and the fact that this raid has a story, which I think raids need to have.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
Crota's End has us going in to kill Crota. King's Fall has us killing Oryx. We're saving the Dreaming City, or so we think, in Last Wish. And then there's other stuff like, okay, well, like, we have the 4 things with Callus, but none of those are really stories.
Right.
Like, this is an actual story. Like, you start off doing one thing, and it turns into something else entirely. And that's so cool. There's a plot twist. I didn't see it coming. It's so cool. I love that about this so much. And it's something that I think desperately has missed. Like, Scourge of the Past, okay, cool. We're trying to stop Spider's crazy brother from nuking the city. Like, okay, whoop-de-doo. Like, this has an actual story. There's actual lore hidden throughout the raid. As you do some of the challenges, you unlock the remainder of the pages.
I love it.
And it's so cool. Like, I loved that. I can't wait to cover future Lore Corner.
I mean, that was my favorite thing about the Taken King was like, okay, well, you did the campaign and you you beat Oryx, but he goes into the, the Ascendant Realm, and then you got the raid finishes the story, right? Like, that was my favorite part. And like, you learn about the sisters, you learn about Gogoroth, you learn about the war chief, and like, when I play it, like when we were doing Leviathan, I'm just like, what's happening here? Like, there's there's a room full of dogs. Why are there a room full of dogs? Like it's just like, it's stupid. I mean, I don't know. I'm excited to play through a story again, and like I really hope like Saturday, like we can go through and learn it, and I can learn it and do it. And like, as someone who used to raid every week on 3 characters, like, that's the one thing about Destiny that I dearly miss, is raiding every week, even if it was just once a week, right? But like, I still think raids are the best in-game activity to this day. Aside from, like the dungeons are like the next closest thing. Like, I really enjoyed when I did Pit of Heresy. Like, that was a really fun light raid experience with 3 people.
Well, I mean, and I've gone on record as saying that I think Prophecy is one of the top 2 or 3 things they've ever done. And I mean, add Deep Stone Crypt to that list now too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Bungie's approach to the endgame content, to the endgame design, is top notch.
Yeah.
Whether it's Prophecy, it's the Shattered Throne, it's Deep Stone Crypt, it's King's Fall, it's Vault. Everything is genuinely special, even in a year with a lesser raid, like Spire of Stars, when it first came out, was maligned for that. Same with Eater of Worlds. And I'll blame them. That was in the most tumultuous time of Destiny's history. Those are still, like, even though those ranked as my last 2, along with Crown of Sorrow, on my overall raid rankings, it's like, those are still top-notch experiences.
Yeah.
As far as a first-person shooter goes, no other shooter. We covered this on Arsenal X. No other game does what Destiny does when it comes to the end game.
Yeah, it's it's special. The end game
stuff. Now
is...
with the added loot now, and with the incentive to keep doing, I mean, you don't even have to use your spoils on stuff from that raid if you don't want to. If you missed out on Anarchy or on the Exotic Sparrow, like so much of us did from Scourge of the Past, you can now buy those from the kiosk. You just have to have the proper amount of spoils,
which is awesome.
It's awesome. It's giving people, and I mean, like, we got a guy in our group, Max, who's like, yeah, I'm gonna save all my spoils up and go buy Anarchy, and it's like, yeah, you need to. Like, that's a top tier boss DPS weapon, especially if you ever plan to try and flawless Prophecy, or you try to solo it. You're gonna have to run that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like, it's a top tier boss strat right now. That with a Vorpal Slug Shoddy. Those are top tier things for the boss.
Yeah.
So,
like, I'm really excited to hopefully run it this weekend. Honestly, like, if I could finish it with you and Nerd and Joe and Mitch and who else? Like, like, just this little group of people that we've like kind of just talked Destiny with. It would be like I don't know. It would probably be one of the best moments in Destiny in a long time for me. I hope Saturday we can do it. So.
Yeah. Let's hit a lore corner real fast. Corey.
Yeah, because I know you have a heart out and
yeah,
a little bit. So
no, it's all good. We have a fairly short one. It's gonna be a 2-parter. We're gonna do part 2 next week. But when you're getting your stasis fragments and your abilities from Elsie each week, good old Exo Stranger, she gives you pieces of a lore book called The Dark Future. And I feel okay doing the first half of this because if you've unlocked your stasis class at all, you've gotten the first few pages of this. And if you've done your first couple of aspects and fragments, you've gotten probably up to page 7 or 8 at this point. I want to talk about this, though, because this is something that it's rooted in the reality of the game, but has not taken place in our reality, and God willing, never will. Right? Like, we're pretty confident that the events of Beyond Light and us choosing to, sure, we embrace the darkness, but we didn't let it overtake us. That's the pivotal moment of this future not becoming a reality in Elsie's eyes for right now. Right? So, in the Dark Future lore book, what it is it's a series of recollections from Elsie talking about her and Anna's journey in the future. In the future, the tower's been wiped out. The darkest day happened, which is the guardians that took on the darkness and succumbed to it, including our own guardian, including the young wolf, sided with Aramis for an attack on the tower. Savathun's forces attacked, and the remaining Cabal attacked as well. And in all of that, we start finding out what happened to some of our allies. Elsie and Anna are currently in hiding. We find that out. They are back to Europa, I believe. They haven't seen each other in years when we encounter them. And when they're talking, they're going down through these, and they still have what's left of Rasputin on a drive. And at first, when you're reading this, you're like, "Oh my god! Like this is the reunion of Anna and Elsie from canon." Because when you get this page, you don't know that you haven't seen the reunion scene between them yet. That comes later on as you're unlocking more of the stasis fragments. And when you get down to the end of page number 2, you realize, oh, this is definitely in an alternate reality. They've gone to the Deep Stone Crypt, and they find the Drifter's body. He's been ripped apart, dismembered, experimented on, and the subsequent pages are talking about so much of that. They managed to reactivate Rasputin. They go back to where the tower was, and it's been completely and totally destroyed. They're reminiscing about, what would Zavala say? Elsie doesn't remember a lot of what happened before she was an Exo because Clovis made sure of that. She wiped it. And you hear Zavala walking around on a crutch with a bum leg, living in the ruins of the Almighty behind the old tower. And he tells the sisters, who are trying to ready a battle plan to go after Savathun, it's not Savathun you want, it's the Witch Queen. And they're confused. We all know Savathun as the Witch Queen. And he reveals that in this timeline, it's Eris. Eris is the one who led the attack on the tower. She was completely corrupted by the darkness. And you start to understand. They ask, where's Ikora? And all Zavala can do is point at the tower, and she's buried under that. She took down all these ships with her. She went down, and nobody's aware that Ikora is dead. And he's like, yeah, she's gone. So Zavala helps the sisters make a plan, and they decide that they're going to need to get Mara Sov on board. They're going to need the Leviathan. They're going to need to, they have to convince the Traveler. And it is a book that I don't think me summarizing it does enough justice to it. It is something that everybody should read it. Now the lore is much more accessible to you in the game. You should absolutely read this book because it's so wrenching. It's absolutely heart-wrenching. Zavala says in it to Anna and Elsie, Anna asks what happened that day. It's been impossible to find accurate recounts. And he goes, we were outnumbered. When the Witch Queen found me, she called me a non-believer as she tore my leg from its joint and pulled the light from my ghost, discarding me like trash. Ikora had it worse. I looked upon the Traveler, hoping it would be our salvation from the atrocity, but instead it just left. The Traveler abandoned them again. Abandoned us when we needed it most. I wanted to reach out and grab it, make it stay, make it save us, as we always thought it would. But that was it, gone. Cabal forces crumbled the rest. He says Gaul's plan to ensure the Traveler and harvest its light, the blueprints, they're all here, and he's copying them now. Rasputin is. Rasputin helps them come up with a plan to bring the Traveler back and force it to fight for what's the very few remnants of humanity at this point. We'll get to the rest of the book next week because we need to break this down in more and more detail. But essentially, the summation of the book, the implication we're given at the end is the Traveler sends Elsie back in time. Back to before all of this, back to before we meet her in Destiny 1, long before that, actually. It's given the implication she goes back about 100, maybe 150 years before the events of Destiny 1, and since she's an Exo, she can't die.
Right.
Well,
I mean,
die.
Yeah.
It's implied that she's caught in a time loop until the past changes, that the Traveler has put her in one. And that's what leads her to us. She, instead of us finding it on her own, she decides to guide us towards it, to avert the dark future, to avert what's happening, like to the point where no time to explain. When you have the little stasis buddy pop up next to you, the gun shooting through it is, with its cadence, with its sound, it is Elsie's No Time to Explain from the vanilla Destiny 1 campaign, shooting through the portal to help you.
That's awesome. That's so cool.
The little tangents in this story, the things like this, like, you know, just from hearing her dialogue post-campaign and reading the description about her, that she's from another time. She's from the future, and she's here to avert that future. Having time travel open to us now opens a myriad of possibilities for this franchise going forward, and it's something I want to speculate on over the Christmas break from the Schwabs and as we've gone through the remainder of the content that's in front of us, because I think this puts Destiny both in a very interesting and unprecedented time, but also in a very precarious way that if they don't handle this correctly, it literally can destroy the franchise. You can't just use time travel as a Deus Ex Machina for everything, because I know instantly some fans are going to be like, oh my god, we could go back and save Cade, which a lot of us thought was going to happen last year with the Sundial, that we were going to screw things up and go save Cade. Instead, we saved Saint 14, and we don't yet understand what the ramifications of that may be
Right.
to the future. And so imagine if we were to do something like that, and a lot of the hardcore fans of the series, especially the students of the lore, would say, do not undo Cade's death. That's such a pivotal moment in the franchise that you can't undo that. Mm-hmm. Like the franchise, as much as I hate to say it, I love Cade. Cade is one of my two favorite characters in the entire franchise, up there with Drifter. Losing Cade was for the best, though. And I think if you look back on a lot of their decisions, like characters they've chosen to let go, even ones that were in the lore, like, we don't want to bring those back. Saint was an unprecedented thing. We brought him back because Osiris loved him so much. And we were able to bring him back. Something Osiris, the greatest guardian to ever live, was never able to do. The one who's now without his light. We were able to do that, though. We were able to reunite Saint and Osiris. And so time travel is something they've been building towards for the last year or so. The Corridors of Time, I do not think we're done with those. This book all but confirms that to me.
Yeah. Plus, like,
so
the time, like, I think the time travel stuff is so interesting because that aspect itself can bring back so many, like, even from just like like content vaulting stuff. This is how you, like, and not just lore stuff, but this is how you bring back, like, if you want to bring Destiny 1 stuff back and you want to have like a season of people, hey, you want to experience Destiny 1, we can make that a season or something. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
It's so, like, the time traveling stuff is so interesting, and that gives you so many new things to play around with the not only the lore, but just like visiting new and old locations, seeing characters that are gone, like, you know what I mean?
I agree. I agree, and I think as long as we use it sparingly, it's a good thing for the franchise.
Yeah, you can't use it like,
yeah,
oh, we messed this up, so we're gonna time travel back and fix it. You know what I mean? Like, you can't do that.
I do expect that to happen at some point. Maybe it's with Savathun. Maybe we just absolutely fuck up, and us traveling back in time allows us to, quote, beat her in the campaign, and then we pull a King's Fall and go in and kill her for real in the Ascendant Plane. Like, there's so many possibilities you can do with things like the Sundial, that you can do with things like the Corridors of Time, that you can do apparently with the Traveler's Light now. There's so many things you can do, and I think that opens up so many possibilities for the lore, for the future of gameplay, for future activities. I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see what's going on. Sorry, my kid is still awake. She's excited too, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just really excited to see, like, even like the time traveling stranger. Will that change? Like, will we meet like this timeline stranger at some point? You know, too. Like,
so that's perhaps the most interesting thing to me about this is, how does time travel exactly work in this universe? Are there two Elsies running around? Did she throw this Elsie in cryo or something, like, or is this one in cryostasis until a certain point in the future or something? Like, who knows? Like, I don't know how that works. Does she just get beamed back into her past body? Like, there's so many questions I have about this, and I have a feeling it's the latter. I think it's her getting beamed back, her consciousness getting beamed into her past body. I think that's what happens here. It's different than when we went through the sundial and our physical body went, when we went into the corridors of time and we saw our funeral through time. Like,
right. Especially since she's an exo, you can upload the consciousness and send it back. You know, I think that's
not even that. I mean, like, it's very clear, and we'll get to this. It's very clear at the end that it is done through the Traveler's Light.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, like, if I never get an explanation, I'm okay with that. It's space magic. It's a giant golf ball in the sky that sent a robotic lady back in time to stop the collapse of the universe, like, against the space Doritos and a deranged eyeless hunter with a turban. Like, you can't get much more ridiculous than the premise I just gave you, but it's done very tastefully.
That's fair. You know,
so
it's yeah, you're right.
But that's gonna do it for Lore Corner.
Yeah, and I think that's gonna do it for this episode of Tower Casuals, Josh.
I think so too.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie, I love this show. I'm glad. Like, I think about it often, and like while I'm laying in bed trying to figure out, like, trying to like manage stuff and do certain things. Like, I'm really glad that we brought this show back, and
for sure.
Destiny, man.
Destiny, man.
Yeah, so we're going to wrap it up. I want to thank everybody so much for watching and or listening. Remember, you can follow us on Twitter at Tower Casuals. You can email us at towercasuals@gmail.com. A question, if you have one, or some interesting facts or whatever you want to.
Please do.
Please do. Yeah. We've been light on questions on this show, so we'd really like you to
which is fine,
contribute.
But I like to talk.
Yeah.
But I need something to talk about that's not just my own opinion.
Yeah. So, I mean, even if we save the emails for like a question episode when like nothing's going on, you know? So,
just going to be real soon.
You can find our family of shows on bossrushgames.com. Josh, where can we find you?
You can find me on Boss Rush Games' Xbox show, Arsenal X, every Sunday night. It goes live on Tuesdays. And then you can find me on Twitter and on Twitch at @Josh_Finn, spelled with 2 N's as always. We're wrapping up Gears 5. We're doing Reset Tuesdays with Destiny next week with the next gen update. Probably doing a little bit of raiding in there, because we got experience to raid in 60 frames. And then Thursday night, baby, after Tower Casuals, it's Cyberpunk time.
Yes.
So,
yes,
come join us. It's going to be a fun time.
You can find me at IamCorinHD on Twitter. You can find me on a plethora of things here on Boss Rush Games, including Arsenal X, the Xbox podcast. If you listen to this show, remember to rate and review if you listen on Apple Podcasts, and give it a like or a thumbs up or whatever else other kind of rating system on these other podcast apps. We really appreciate it. So I want to thank everybody so much for watching. And until next week, we love you.